Welcome back. My name is Nick. I do this channel called Transguy Reacts, where I react to women's basketball, college and professional. Today, I want to react to the WNIT and the new WBIT and the controversy around this. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about the WNIT. So, the WNIT is the Women's National Invitational Tournament. So it's a women's national college basketball tournament, and it's got a preseason and a postseason, and it's played every year. It's operated kind of similar to the NIT, the National Invitational Tournament for the men, but that tournament is run by the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association. So the WNIT is run by an independent organization or independent company called Crown. What is it called? Triple Crown Sports, and it's based in Fort Collins, Colorado, and it specializes in promotion of amateur sporting events. So this was created in technically it was created in the 1994, and then it folded in 1996, and then 2 years later, Triple Crown Sports took it over and kind of had the same name, and then it's called the NWIT when it was under the NCAA, and then it folded, and then Triple Crown Sports took it over, and then it had that same name, and then the following year, I believe, it took on the WNIT, basically just switching letters around essentially. So that happened, and then that has been going on since essentially 1996 or so, or 1997, 98. And that has been kind of the default backup. If you do not make the NCAA tournament on the women's side, you usually get invited to the WNIT. It is considered a step down, but hey, you get a postseason, you get competitive play, and you get a trophy. So you still get to have like tournament post play after your regular season. So it's still worth it, but it definitely is. It's a step down. It's not as prestigious. Now, the NCAA, because they have no affiliation with the WNIT, they see that the NCAA women's game is exploding and it's bringing in some dollars. And now they're like, oh, well, we need to make our own league where we're in control, and we control the funding and all that stuff. So that's kind of where the WBIT came into play. Now, the WNIT did make a statement, so let me read this. This came out last year. This came out July 17th, 2023. This is what they have to say. Amidst the news of the NCAA launching the new 32-team Women's Basketball Invitation Tournament, WBIT, the WNIT will continue to be a thriving postseason tournament featuring 48 teams starting in 2024. The WNIT has consistently demonstrated its unwavering commitment to women's basketball and its dedication to promoting the sport's growth and development. With a rich history spanning 25 years, the WNIT's primary motive has always been to prioritize what is best for women's basketball, and that unwavering dedication will continue to guide its operations. As the tournament moves forward, its commitment to providing a platform for teams and athletes to showcase their skills, fostering competition, and advancing the women's game will remain unchanged, ensuring the bright and promising future for women's basketball at the collegiate level. Details on the new 48-team format will be announced later at a later date. So there you go. WNIT is like, well, we're going to still do what we're doing. But I have to say, there definitely is a change in terms of there are more teams. Obviously, it's expanded a tournament, but the teams in the WNIT are not the same. uh, you know, it used to be it was the teams that just missed the NCAA, so they're very strong caliber teams. But now I would say the teams in the WNIT are mostly kind of mid majors, teams that I haven't really watched any of their games, to be honest. And if they are on TV anyway, it's on ESPN Plus, and that's the same for the WNIT. All their games are on ESPN Plus anyway, so it's nothing different except that sometimes I would watch the WNIT because they had teams that I cared about. I was like, oh man, they didn't make the NCAA. I'll watch them there. So, and let me point out, I have this it up right here. You can see who's in WNIT this year, and I'll just go down the list here. Pacific, Cal Poly, Montana, Boise State, UTSA, Colorado, South Dakota, UC Riverside, IFU, Stetson, NCAA&T, UNCG, Southern Miss, UAB, Minnesota, Pacific, North Dakota State, Montana, Wyoming, UTSA, Northern Arizona, which I have watched some of their games. They're pretty good, actually. Troy, FIU, Old Dominion. I mean, yeah, Old Dominion's pretty good. Murray State, Southern Miss, uh, Colgate, UULB, Providence, Vermont, Niagara, Lemoyne, DeQuesne, Monmouth, Buffalo, Purdue, Butler, Bowling Green, Cincinnati, um, Kentucky, Northern Iowa, Central Arkansas, St. Louis, Illinois, Charleston, USC Upstate, and yeah, I think I got them all. I think I got. I wanted to say all of them out loud, so they all got their just. But I'm like, a lot of those teams, I don't know who they are. I don't know who these people are. So, I don't. I think that this league is going to have some issues, this tournament is going to have some issues going forward with anyone kind of watch. The viewership's going to go down for sure because these are just not teams that get a lot of eyeballs to begin with, right? And so the NCAA obviously made their announcement, and so I want to read what they said about this whole situation. So they say this is coming from the NCAA about the WBIT. All right, so this is their announcement about their new league. So the NCAA says the NCAA has announced the creation of the Women's Basketball Invitation Tournament, the 32-team postseason tournament, which will be owned and funded by the NCAA, will be held annually beginning in 2024. With the addition of the WBIT, 100 postseason NCAA-funded opportunities will be available for Division I women's basketball teams, equal to that of men's basketball through its two events, the 68-team championship and the 32-team national invitation tournament. Details about the tournament's format, including the selection process, bracketing principles, and host sites will be released later. Women's basketball is at an all-time high, with records being set for national championship and Final Four viewership. And the tournament was the most viewed since 2009, said Jamie Boggs, chair of the Division I Women's Basketball Oversight Committee and vice president of athletics for Grand Canyon. This tournament will create an additional NCAA-funded postseason opportunity for women's basketball, and it comes at a time when we are seeing tremendous growth in popularity for women's basketball. The NCAA also released branding for the tournament, which continues to highlight orange in alignment with other NCAA women's basketball branding, including the March Madness logo, the WBIT logo, which is inspired by a backboard and net, also will feature blue to tie in with the NCAA's primary branding. Later this summer, the NCAA will identify a selection committee comprising women's basketball stakeholders and NCAA members and to administer the WBIT. All of that to say exactly what I said earlier is that because the women's team is growing, the women's league and basketball is growing, there's more eyeballs, there's more money. The NCAA is like, oh, we got to put our hands in there. We got to get some money out of this. We didn't care about the WNIT because we didn't care about women's sports. But now that other people care about women's sports, we care about women's sports. So, or not women's sports, women's basketball. Let's be clear there. So that was the NCAA statement. I do have a little bit more details about like the setup of this tournament and how the teams were selected. So they did release a little bit of information about that. They said that how the WBI teams are selected. The WBIT selection committee, made up of 5 former D1 women's basketball coaches and 3 current former D1 athletic administrators, will choose the field. First, second, and quarter-final games will be held at campus sites. Action then moves to Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana for the semifinals and championship. The top 16 teams are selected by the committee, will host the first-round games, provided they submit a bid and meet the minimum hosting requirements. Regular season champions of D1 conferences not selected to the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship secure automatic qualification into the WBIT. The first 4 teams out of the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship, as determined by the Division I Women's Basketball Committee, receive automatic bids and will be the top 4 seeds in the WBIT. That right there is them exerting their power and being like, oh, so whoever doesn't make it into the NCAA tournament will automatically go into the WBIT and essentially eliminating the WNIT, because then why would they go to the WNIT if the NCAA, which is connected to the NCAA tournament, will pull you no matter what. It's going to pull that team regardless and move to the WBIT. So that is something to know. I want to point out the bracket. So let's take a look at the bracket here for the WBIT. The teams that are playing are teams that I would watch a lot of these. So let's see the left and the right round here. So the first round, you got James Madison, you got Stony Brook, you got Illinois, Missouri State, Tulsa, Arkansas, as I like to, it's Arkansas, but it's spelled Arkansas. Come on, like literally. But yeah, Arkansas, Washington, Georgetown, Washington State, Lamar University, Santa Clara, BYU, Florida, St. John's, Toledo, Cleveland State, Villanova, VCU, Virginia, High Point, St. Joseph's, Seton Hall, California, Cal, Hawaii, Penn State, George Mason, Ball State, Belmont, TCU. Did I say Hawaii? I think I did. North Texas, Mississippi State, and Georgia Tech. So there's like quite a few like ACC, SEC, Pac-12 teams in here. A WCC, yeah, all these like very big teams that like I would say, top tier teams, not necessarily top 25 because obviously they didn't get into the NCAA tournament, but very, very, very good teams that were on the bubble. So one thing though to note about this though, which is kind of interesting, is there is some controversy because Miami was invited, but Katie Meyer retired and she declined to attend, and they ended up adding James Madison to the as a number one seed, but James Madison wasn't invited to the tournament to begin with. But then they get invited, and then they're at one seed. Like, what? It's like, yeah, that doesn't really make any sense. That's going to be a little bit of an issue, a little dark cloud over how this is even starting. But it was interesting. I watched some of the first games. Or I know I didn't watch them. I like kind of had them on in the background. But pretty interesting. I'll probably watch them. They're also on ESPN Plus, so there's nothing like special or different from the WNIT, except they're on at like the same time, pretty much. Most of the games are the same time. So you just kind of pick your poison. Some things to know. The details of this. I mean, I already talked about the selection committee and how that worked, but I think it is good to know some of the more little details. So, preliminary rounds, the host top 16 teams will host on campus provided the facility is available and the submitted bid meets minimum requirements. So some teams are not home because their home campus isn't available. Hosts will submit proposed ticket prices and anticipated expenses. Once host has been selected and proposed, budget approved, WBIT will cover and reimburse hosts for all approved operational expenses. So that's pretty key. That's at least they're going to get them, the teams don't have to foot this out of pocket. The WBIT retains 100% of ticket revenue. 100%. They get it all. The school gets nothing. Okay? There is no bid guarantee or bid fee to host, which is good. Like, why are you trying to charge people? Hosting is awarded based on seating and availability. Don't need to know about that. And then the participating teams, it says WBIT will provide airfare and or ground transportation for official travel party max of 25. Travel must be booked through Shorts Travel to be reimbursed. That must be an inside thing for them. The WBIT will provide per diem for official travel party max of 25, $160 for the prelims, and $215 final site. On the high cost cities, if you live in a city that's very expensive, $230 on the prelims and $315 for the final site. Teams with 400 miles within 400 miles of the site will drive to the host site. And then they have some travel policies. And then teams will be provided 20 custom WBIT watches to commemorate their participation in the tournament. So that's kind of cool. I like that idea that they'll be able to get something out of it, like a little watch. That's kind of cool, a little commemorative thing for everybody who participates. It does say that they will be getting primetime ESPN viewership. These first couple rounds they're only on ESPN Plus, but it does say that they will be on ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPNU. So that must mean like I would imagine like the semifinals and the quarterfinals will probably be on those major channels. So yeah, that is the WNIT versus the WBIT situation. Very interesting, controversial, but hey, things change, and this is the way forward for the game. So this is how it's going to be. And good luck to all those teams playing, and I look forward to watching them, to be honest, even though I'm a little annoyed with the politics of this, but it's not my business. I'm just a spectator. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.